Hello, PTG fans, Proxy Table Gaming. I'm Hyper G. Nodding away with me is Lucky Sixes.
Guten Tag.
Yes, whatever language that is. I'm gonna pretend I don't know, but I do. Yeah, so we are rolling into another tournament
Let's go.
straight away.
Let's go.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Art of what?
Art of Massacre.
Yeah,
Pretty much
right,
is
yes.
how they merge together. Because we're going into a Warhall and UB tournament. I played all mine on Warhall.
Same, actually.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
basically, Warhall tournament for us, but
pretty
it was
much,
was a both. Yeah, an online tournament called Massacre, run by our very very good friend Paul Godbold from the Wargaming of Fantasy
and
Land
podcasts.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
nailed it.
Totally.
And
Always do.
A bit of a different format, so not your standard 5 or 6 game Swiss chess. This is groups, and you need to get to the top 2 to get through into the quarterfinals. So
yeah, and then it's straight knockout from there. So potentially 7 games for the winner.
Yes,
or 4 games for anyone who doesn't qualify. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, basically.
And then the tournament is ongoing whilst we're recording these. So, it hasn't actually finished.
Yeah.
So, not saying that we're through or not at this stage, because you'll have to wait and see until the 4 battles unfold.
We don't know.
No, exactly. But we are going to start reporting on them anyway, because the momentum is hot.
Absolutely. We go on to game 1 with yourself.
Yes, and I'm taking Dread Elves. Because they're kind of my online army, really. I played them in Scottish Championship last year. Obviously, the Feral Orc were amazing at Art of War, and I thoroughly enjoyed them. They've gone into rehab for rebasing, and even so, this is an online tournament, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just went with Dread Elves because I like them, and this is a 5,000 point tournament as well, as opposed to 4,500,
Yes.
which is all cool. And Scottish Championship last year was 5,000 points, so technically Dread Elves playing the 5,000 point armies, really. But I did change my list between now and then. But before we get onto lists, let's first of all, I'm against Tony. Tony! With his Undying Dynasties. He was not in the same group as me in the Massacre format. He was in Group A, I'm in Group B. You're in D, so we have avoided each other. But
there's 5 in each, isn't there?
There's 5 in each group, so technically 1 from each group plays another in a different group every round. We were all confused by it.
It was an odd. Paul just basically chose all the best stuff he liked from last year's online tournaments and whacked it into one. It was really cool. Although he did have to change one thing. Which we won't mention. Dwarfs.
No, don't mention the stunties. Yeah, absolutely not. Cool. So it is a funky little scenario pack that Paul used for a few of the rounds. Not all of them, but this one was the first round. Escape from Beyond the Veil. Deployment looks pretty standard, frontline clash. But there was a whole host of ways that you could win the secondary objective. I won't run through those particularly because time, and you can pause and have a little ingest of those. But essentially, it did mean that you kind of had to read through them throughout the battle to
find
out.
Ongoing. It didn't matter about what turn or whatever. So. Yeah,
exactly.
It was interesting.
Exactly. Yeah. And some of these, because I was playing against UD, they don't flee or anything like that. So it was like, that's a few of them that I literally cannot achieve. But there was lots of different twos and fros about it. So we'll see how we go. This is my list. I won't spend a huge amount of time on it purely because it is very similar to the list I took in Scottish Championship last year, in that it was very dominated by Temple Militants. Temple Exarchs and Warlock Outcasts and Krakens and Black Cloaks. It's all pretty much the same, really.
Probably one thing to note is 4 Adepts, right?
Yeah, exactly. 4 Adepts is awesome. I mean, basically what I did was the DE book has changed so that you can't take BSB on an Exarch as well as Warsmith or Battle Oracle. So I nearly had 5 Adepts, I'll be honest. Because I nearly had 3 Temple Exarchs and 2 Outcasts, which would have been insane. But actually, no, they wouldn't have been an Adept if it was the BSB, so ignore that. But anyway, so basically I've got 4 different magic paths, which is cool. I've got the Lacerating Touch and Mask of the Warcrow combination, which I had from last year. But essentially, most of the characters are fairly naked apart from that, which goes with the theme. of militants. The Selecting Spears are in there as well in core because they house basically the Outcasts and the Selecting Officer BSB, who are very vulnerable, but it's like a bunker, which I haven't really played before, but we'll see how it goes. And then 2 Dreadnought units are in instead of 1 unit of Judicators, because I felt in the Scottish Championships I was a bit too infantry heavy. So going with the idea of mobile scoring, which I used to full effect in Art of War, I've kind of gone with 5 scoring again, 2 of which are mobile, and Dreadnoughts are very good. Only one of these is aggressive, only one has lances because I couldn't fit the points wise, but yeah. Then I've got my Crucible of Slaughter in one of the Temple Militants units, which reduces resilience, which is awesome. I love that. Not so much against shooting, but in combat it's amazing. Harpies in there always. 2 units of Black Cloaks because the price has shot up since last year.
Yeah,
so couldn't afford to have 3 units of 6 this year. And the Krakens, Kuloth and Krasnar are back for some fun as well. Over to Tony's list, and yeah, it's impact hits galore, basically, is the summary of it.
Which is great for Dread Elves, right?
Yeah. Oh man. Pharaoh on a skeleton chariot with all the goodies, the Jackal's Blessing and Godslayer. Really cool combination. He's nasty, and for 550 points, it's quite a very decent character there. 2 Death Cult Hierarch, both adepts as well. One Hierophant and 1 adding. Oh, I have to say, with the Scroll of Desiccation and Book of the Dead and all sorts, there was a whole load of shenanigans going on with the UD Hereditary. Do I mean Hereditary? Yeah, I do mean Hereditary. Like when he could heal models, when he could.
And it's the attribute, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was all sorts going on. A Tomb Harbinger on a chariot as well, just to boost up more impact hits, which is amazing. And then the core is just chariot based. Oh, actually, funnily enough, I looked at the core and he's way over on core selection, which is
like really 300 points or something.
Yeah, but skeleton chariots are so good they may as well not be core, really, especially when you play the army with that as your focus. So yeah, with the 2 characters in with the 6 skeleton chariots, it's a nasty unit to think about. Then you got your cavalry and your scouts to go with it. 3 Soundstalkers, 2 units of them, underground ambush, nasty shooting. Although ironically not that bad against Dread Elves because high agility. So I'm not too bothered about that. Colossus, paired weapons, and 2 Ancient Giants. Nice to see them from the Giant supplement book. So I had to read the rules on that. All good, right? Should we see how we're doing? We did play on Warhall, and we played with the desert,
the sandy desert,
Tafrian Desert, I think it's called in Warhall or something like that. And yeah, we will crack straight into my deployment. Obviously, you can see on the side, we've got the Sandstalkers. They're not deployed yet because they're underground. I got 2 Black Cloaks deployed opposite one of the Bone Giants. Previously, I've had good success with Black Cloaks against Giants. However, Black Cloaks have been nerfed quite significantly. So, see if they can take on that Giant. I have got a unit of Dreadnoughts in the ruins. They're the ones without lances, I believe. Then I've got the Kraken, let's say Krasnar. 2 units of Temple Militants, 1 the Selecting Spears with the 3 characters behind. Harpies, then Kuloth on the right-hand side with a unit of Dreadnoughts hiding behind the hill. I got first turn, so I was aware of that going into this. Yeah, Tony's got a Big Brother Giant near the Oasis. Another Big Brother Giant, I think it was the Scarab one, is opposite the Black Cloaks, and the Bone Chariot one is behind 3 chariots. The Scouts have moved forward. That forest, there's something about the forest that Tony changed. I think it's changed.
Is it dangerous terrain for all of you?
Yeah, something like
that.
Yeah, something along those lines, which is why all the skulls are in it. You've got the Colossus with the paired weapons standing in front of the Arc of Ages. Then 3 more chariots. Then the Skeleton Horseman with one of the Adepts in, and the big unit chariots. So blank. And I was actually quite pleased to see the chariots out blank, because if that had been front and center, I don't know what I would have done. So yeah, we'll see how we go. I do go first, as I say, and I start moving up. I couldn't get a decent amount of shooting on the Giant my turn 1. So I basically used that ruins. Well, not ruins. It's impassable. To hide my Black Cloaks and then go up turn 2 and see what happened. If Tony came forward, I've got Krasnar ready to charge as well with the Dreadnoughts. So see how that is. I wasn't in too much of a rush to get forward because I didn't want to risk impact hits coming in. Impact hits is a horrible matchup for me. My Dread Elves are so quick, the agility is so high, and they're so lethal. They rely on killing you before you kill me, and impact hits just completely smashes me up. So I've got to be really careful in this one. I get on the hill, as I say. That's an overview of the top-down view. Going into Magic. I loved having 4 Adepts. Channel 4 is nice.
Yeah, man.
And I also loved having the different parts of Magic.
Yeah.
Really
it's
cool.
Insane.
Yeah. In Magic, I get 1 wound on the Colossus with a Quicksilver Lash, which is kind of pointless because of UD and healing wounds back.
Yeah, sure.
It could have been good. If I'd have got like 3 or 4 wounds through, then amazing. He's only a 3-up armor save, I think, though. So really, Quicksilver isn't, the best tool for it.
Yeah, it got to spike quite a lot to get.
Exactly. Tony was rightfully so dispelling Fate's Judgment, which would have been a lot more devastating to him.
Yeah.
So. Actually, no, Fate's Judgment wouldn't have been that bad with a 3-up armor. But anyway, he was
still 2d6, isn't it?
D6. Fate's Judgment.
D6,
Ice and Fire is 2d6.
Oh, right, sure.
But yeah, either way. On to Tony's go, and he pretty much levels out his giants as follows, which is fine. Means he doesn't come forward, and he's got a decent way of stopping my black cloaks. But that's okay, because I'm like, just take my time getting into position.
Yeah.
His chariots do a bit of a good formation in the middle, and his other chariots defend the obstacle, which is cool. Does give me an opportunity, though, which I kind of think about just exploiting, which is Dread Knights to move to the flank, because Tony doesn't prepare against that. But we'll get onto that in a minute. He moves his Colossus back. I haven't got anything that can actually come in there behind him, but he's basically just thinking that if I think I've got Raven's Wing at my disposal, so technically I could move the Dread Knights up.
Oh, okay.
And then forward all the way round
to
avoid the Dread Knights getting countercharged by his chariot. There's 3 chariots.
Yeah.
If I get in the flank of the big chariots, the 3 chariots can charge the Dread Knights, and I might want to Raven's Wing even further away. And that's what Tony's preparing against, I think, anyway. But we'll see. So that is a weird position for the Colossus, but that's my thinking behind that.
That's some super taking care of every single T and dot in all
T9A, yeah, exactly. But the thing is, he can't really dispel Raven's Wing and my magic missiles.
Sure.
So he's kind of preparing against it. Right, there we go. Moving into magic. Let's see. It's a spy magic, actually. No.
Cosmos, so.
No, it's.
That's his magic 2 and 3. But he's...
Yeah, no, it is his magic. So what's number 2 on Cosmo? Truth of Time on the. I think that there may even be my spells from previous. I don't know. Maybe this is just another picture of movement. We move on. Yeah, I don't think much has changed there either. So that's all good. Oh, his skeleton scouts have moved up in between my. I was annoyed about leaving that gap. Actually, there's a gap there. I could have easily pointed the Kraken to avoid.
Sure.
To avoid.
Looks like
that,
he's done a wound to your raptors as well.
Oh yeah, must have done. He's got
shooting.
He has got some shooting. The chariots can shoot bows, so yeah, it's quite a lot of bows actually. Thinking about it, and because you hit on 5s, it's do get through a fair bit. So magic obviously didn't do too much more from what I can tell. Still got 2 Krakens, checking them off one by one. And I move up as follows. Like I say, the Black Cloaks can't really get round to the Giants, so I'm using the Kraken as bait, really, and just keeping my Black Cloaks alive for the time being. I am aware that the Sandstalkers are coming up at some point, so my Black Cloaks are kind of in reserve for that in case they come through as well. I didn't want to just throw my Black Cloaks forward, lose them, and then be in a really bad position with the Sandstalkers.
Sure.
So I'm happy to keep things in reserve. I moved the Harpies to block the Skeleton Scouts, even though I don't really fear that flank charge, but I want something to be able to stop the Scouts from causing shenanigans. And Harpies can actually kill the Scouts, and I think they actually would kill the Scouts before the Scouts attack the Harpies. So I was perfectly happy to not use the Harpies as chaff there. I do move the 4 remaining Raptor Riders into the flank of the Skeletons. I probably, possibly talking in with hindsight in mind, I possibly could have moved them further away from those 3 chariots. But I kind of liked my chances against those chariots because I think they were only strength 4, AP1 impact hits. So I liked my chances with agility 6. It was only the impact hits that I needed to avoid. And I was planning on putting all my magic into that 3 chariot block now to try and reduce them by at least 1 chariot. So militants still taking their time going forward. Like I said, I don't want the insane amount of impact hits from the chariots coming into them anytime soon. Over here, I get perception strength off on my harpies, which is fine, just a bit of fun. Helping them out as well. What else? It must have been Tony getting truth of time on those chariots.
Yeah, and you got quick lash.
And I got quick lash, which actually killed a chariot, which is really good.
Yeah.
Really happy with that. So that does reduce the impact hits on the Dread Knights potentially as well. So Tony goes ahead and takes the charge anyway, which I was like, fine, okay. I expected it, obviously. He did have to cause me to close the door, however. Let's just see how that worked. Yeah, caused me to close the door because he wheeled once and then hit me and couldn't close the door again because of his own unit.
Sure.
Which was a weird way of working it out, but it ended up with me like this, which it means his chariots are now kind of blocked a bit as well, which gives me an extra turn to figure stuff out. So a little bit unfortunate for Tony there. But yeah, see how that works out. Over for got a bit of drawing going on. Basically because we were working out line of sight and all sorts as I was taking pictures. His Sandstalkers come up behind the Kraken on the right hand side, and his scouts move in front of the Kraken. I'm basically at least scout, so that's good. His giant, on the left, has moved out of line of sight, opening the other Kraken, Krasnar. And again, that's me being a bit sloppy with my line of sight art, really. There's no reason Kraken should have given that giant a chance to get out.
Sure.
At least not easily, anyway. He probably could have got out, but then I would have been able to black cloak him in easier and get him further away from the middle. So a bit sloppy on my part there. I think that's pretty much everything. The Colossus now turned back, and the Arc of Ages is facing the middle.
Just moved his chariots just a little bit over.
That's it. Yeah, I had to really, which is fine.
But the majority is still on the
wall obstacle, the wall.
Which, even though he's not flush, so he doesn't have distracting.
I know. Yeah,
but he does. He doesn't have hard target, but he does have distracting.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. Annoyingly, I couldn't stop all of Tony's magic. He really prioritized this chariot unit.
Yeah, sure.
And it's so hard to stop them because it's on augment spells that he gains wounds back. And he basically did 2 spells. Yeah. One of them goes through.
So I think the attribute works that an additional. So the hereditary is like a attribute, isn't it, rather than a thing?
Yeah.
So it's
cast it with +2.
Yeah.
Cast your spell with +2 casting value, and then if you get it off and it goes through, you gain wounds back as well as the spell.
Yeah, so.
And his items that he's got on his casters and the Hierophant rules and all sorts. I mean, the range of that was insane, especially on the Arc of Ages. I mean, it's so much so that even now I don't really know how to explain it very well.
It's it looks like 21 inches as well.
Exactly. It's huge. And essentially it means he gets both scrying and wounds back on the chariot. And that's not good for the Dread Elves. I mean, the Dread Knights. I was really hoping to make it only 2 chariot impact hits, and now I've got 3 impact chariot hits and scrying to deal with. So, yeah, not ideal at all. So, the Sandstalkers, bloody hell, those Sandstalkers, despite me being agility 5 on the Kraken, is wounding on 6s with his shots. Tony maximizes the amount of hits, rolls an insane amount of 6s. It's AP 10. I don't get any armor save. The Kraken's got 1 wound left all of a sudden.
Blimey.
And I was like, shit. I'm going to swear. I don't normally swear. But
no.
Jesus, that was brutal.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily I've still got a wound left. But yeah, Kuloth is in a bit of trouble there, which is not great. Tony's also got Truth of Time off on his giant at the other side, which I obviously let through. So going into, let's see, we've got a whole load of lines going on. I don't think I did any charges.
That would be good.
I mean, that's a hell of a charge if I charge that. But I don't think the lines are anything massively important. I don't know whether I drew them or Tony did. But we'll move on, because I definitely don't remember making that charge or going for it. So, okay, yeah, in the combat, I don't know what this line, but in the combat, it's a bit of a crazy one, really, because I do lose 2 Dread Knights to the impact hits. But then my Dread Knights do a very decent job and actually kill a chariot. And then Tony's chariots don't do any further wounds to my Dread Knights. It was a real topsy-turvy one, because his chariots have actually got halberds, I think.
Okay, so
they're actually strength. I think they're strength 5.
Wow. Okay.
So they have got a decent chance of doing wounds on the Dread Knights. Of course, I didn't want to be having to do scrying, and I didn't want to have taken impact hits first. So my attack were halved by this point.
Sure.
But it wasn't actually too bad, and we stick. So, you know, I think I did enough to hold it, basically.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Into my turn, and what I try to do is I would actually have loved to have charged the Kraken into the Scouts, and then the Harpies into the Sunstalkers. But unfortunately, my Sunstalkers cannot see the Sunstalkers to declare the charge on them.
Yeah.
Obviously, once the Krakens move forward into the Scouts, I can then see the Stalkers. But because you have to declare the charge,
because it's impassable as well. Yeah.
Exactly. The Kraken is actually blocking the line of sight, so the Harpies don't know the Stalkers are there.
Yeah.
So I couldn't declare that charge, which was disappointing, because I think the Harpies could have really done a good job on the Sunstalkers.
Sure.
Especially with the devastating attack, devastating charge stuff. So instead, what I do is I long charge the Harpies into the rear of the chariots, just as a chance of getting them in there. I've got like move 9 inches, so there's that. I think I only need like 7 or 8 to make that, and getting them into the rear, attacking first, is really going to help my Dread Knight though. So I think so I failed the charge with the Harpies, and basically the wheel hits the impassable, so they go nowhere. So in hindsight, making that charge, even if it was an 8 or a 9 on Swift Stride, I probably shouldn't have declared it, because I really wasted my Harpies this turn by not being able to move my chap.
Sure.
But if it had paid off, it would have been amazing. So, you know, swings and roundabouts.
Yeah.
I moved my militants quite aggressively forward on the left-hand side. It's a long charge for the chariots. The chariots can't make that, the big chariots, that is, because I basically want to force Tony to make some decisions with his units. What I don't want is those 3 chariots and both giants to get into my militants. And they're all long charges, and the giant's probably got like a 7 or an 8, I think it is, the one in the middle. In fact, it's no, because weirdly, Bone Chariot doesn't give that giant Swift Stride. Just gives him impact hits. So neither of the giants have got Swift Stride, and they need quite high. Yeah. The 3 chariots, I'm prepared to come in and suck up the impact hits, but I can't deal with it if both the giants get in as well. So I'm hoping that I've left this giant fail chariot to get in, and I can take him on 1 by 1. So there's that. I've moved Krasnar around as well. The Black Cloaks are basically blocking that other giant in, is my theory. I don't think, objective-wise, there's anything occurred yet. So there is a running tally. I get my boosted spells, my damage spells off on this chariot unit and reduce them to 2 again, just to make Tony raise them back if he with his magic. So kind of like a bit of to and fro going on. That's a Quicksilver and a Fate's Judgment on them. And I'll tell you what, I was the first to be salty about his Sandstalkers doing 4 wounds to my Kraken, but it came right back at me because my Black Cloaks, only 5 of them with 10 shots, did 4 wounds to the giant, and that is ridiculously good.
Solid, yeah.
So I was forced to really backtrack with Tony about being salty about his Sandstalkers, because my Black Cloaks did exactly the same to his giant moments later. It was embarrassing on my side, because I was like, Jesus, Tony, you're so bloody lucky with those Sandstalkers. And then 10 minutes later,
as if you got all them sixes.
Oh no, yeah, exactly. Because I'm only doing wounds to it with the poison. So Anywho, my Kraken over here, Kuloth kills the scouts, which is good. But the chariot unit goes through my dreadnoughts, and that is a shame. So that is a dreadnought unit that I've lost,
and really, it's a scoring unit as well.
It's a scoring unit, so it does cause Tony some objective points as well. So that was, I possibly didn't need to make that move. I could have kept the dreadnoughts back on the hill and caused him zonal problems, really. Sure. But I took a chance and it didn't quite pay off. So never mind. It happens. Yeah. So Tony takes these charges, and I ask for them. So I can't complain.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Can't complain, there is that. And he gets all of them in.
Oh,
God, what have I done?
Brutal.
The Giants just didn't mess about. Without Swift they didn't care. They came in anyway. And his other Sandstalkers come up. So, yeah, that's not great for militants, because it's 2 chariots with impact hits, a bone chariot giant with impact hits, another chariot in the flank. I don't think even militants can take that out, even if there's a few of them left after impact hits. So, oh well, a whole load of line drawing going on, but I think a lot of it is legacy
line of sight
to actually relevant. Yeah, exactly. He moves his Sandstalkers away from Kuloth's line of sight, which is fine. My chance to get those Sandstalkers is probably gone now, which is a shame. I'm not really going to chase them, and Kuloth's only on 1 wound left, so I need to be careful with him on the right hand side. And also my Kraken on the left, Krasnar being where he is, I'm not really prepared for the counter charge if he does get those 3 units into that.
Banking on him failing, wouldn't you?
I know, yeah. And really that giant on the flank should have failed, because he was right next to the Black Cloak. Look how far that is. So I think he rolled in 10 or 11 to get in. But that's why you roll, isn't it? Why you declare it, why you take a risk. So I took a risk the other way by hoping he failed it.
Yeah.
Cool. Over here, he moves up. Why did the Sandstalkers take 2 wounds? Was it DTs? No, it can't have been.
Don't know.
No, not sure. Maybe I did a magic spell at them at some point.
Sure.
Can't think how I did, but yeah, they've got 2 wounds on them, so whatever. What else have we got? The one chariot remaining for Tony is backing away because it's a scoring unit and he wants to keep that alive, which makes sense. Yep. Plus he can recover the wounds back on that slowly, so when he can get half points.
Well, currently you're not at half points here.
No, exactly, yeah, but you can just throw it back unless I kill it quickly.
Yeah.
He moves his chariots up. I don't think they failed a charge on that militant unit. The line is there, but I don't think they failed that charge. Over here, this is after combat, and it's not massively surprising, if I'm honest. The militants were evaporated, literally evaporated. Impact hits did so many. The saving grace, if there is one, is that I killed the chariots with my militant attacks. So that's not too bad. So
scoring, so it's 2-1 to him at the minute.
Yes, exactly, yeah.
Looks like some raptors died as well to some...
Yeah, the Arc of Ages, it's got a hell of a range on its missiles.
Was that not shooting from the Sandstalkers?
Yes, no, absolutely was. Yeah, well done. Because I was about to say, I'm not sure how the Arc of Ages saw it through the giants. Yeah, that makes sense that it was actually the Sandstalkers. Nice one. And I've also lost some of the other militant unit because of the chariot shooting them. So that's not good.
Has he regained wounds on the giant?
I'm not sure how many wounds those giants are on at the minute. I think the one in front, so nearest to me, has taken a few wounds.
Yeah.
The one behind hasn't.
Sure.
Or maybe it's taken 1 wound. So, yeah, hopefully I'll be able to show that a bit better in a minute. So I think at this stage as well, literally at this stage, we had to call the battle there at halfway and come back to it later. So I had my next turn, my turn 3, or was it my turn 4? My turn 4 coming up, to think about what I was going to do, which is a good thing and a bad thing, because you overanalyze it when you've got time to look at it. And I did all sorts of calculations. In fact, it looks like we're 5-3 on the objective, so I'm not really sure where the others have come from. Yeah. because those tokens on the left, the orange and the pink ones.
Yeah, there's a few things, isn't there? So
yeah,
I can't remember.
Yeah. So there is. Flank charges as well. Flank charges.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that sort of
Sure.
thing.
Yeah.
And I think my Kraken charged into the rear of his scouts.
Yeah.
So that don't know if that counted. Anyway,
yeah,
don't worry about that.
It would have.
Yeah.
You don't have to charge scoring units. It's just getting charges off.
Sure. Yeah. So that was that one. Getting in. Obviously, if my harpies had made it into the rear of his chariots, that would have been a nice one as well. Over here, I declared discharge with the Slexian spears. The spears are still nice. They're still pointy things.
Your bunker.
Yeah, my bunker's going into the flank. That giant, I know for a fact, only had like 3 wounds left.
Yeah.
So I was hoping to kill it before it struck, basically. I did think of all sorts of ways around what I could do in this scenario. Like the Dreadknights could charge the giant behind with one Dreadknight into the corner. And then rely on the Selexians killing the giant and overrunning and attacking again into the flank of the giant.
Sure.
In the same turn. But I decided against doing that in case the Selexians didn't kill the first giant or they didn't overrun into the second and leave my one Dreadknight fighting a whole beaten up giant. That wasn't a great gamble to take. There were too many things that could go wrong. And even though it would have been a flank charge for the Dreadknights and a flank charge for the Selexians, which is important for objectives. But yeah, I decided against that and just charged these guys into the flank. On the other side, I used Kuloth with 1 wound remaining as chaff, just to give my militants a chance to actually get involved in the left-hand side. So I'm keeping those chariots back for a turn while my militants actually threaten the giant. What I really want is Tony to declare that giant into my militants.
Sure.
If I give him the opportunity to, by not overrunning. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. And my harpies move up to go hunting the other chariot as well. See if they can. I think they can take an impact here and still attack back. But it's risky.
Sorry, yeah.
On the other side, yeah. My magic, I do Fate's Judgment and only get 1 wound on the giant, which is really disappointing. Yeah, really disappointing. I was really hoping that I could force through a magic spell or 2 and really wound that giant.
So it's got 8 wounds in total, isn't it?
Yeah, 8 wounds in total. But Fate's Judgment, it was D6. It was the bigger Fate's Judgment, and I only did 1 wound. It had already taken 1. So, it's D6 wounds without allowing a 6-up armor save. So it could have done a lot more, and I was really hoping it would. Meanwhile, Krasnar and the Dreadknights are moving past the Arc of Ages line of sight, and you actually get an objective point for the first time you get into your opponent's deployment zone as well. So the Dreadknights are just in, and that was another reason why I didn't charge them, because I wanted a scoring unit in Tony's deployment zone.
Yeah.
Over the left flank, I've got both Black Cloaks closing in on the Sandstalkers, because I feel like I can shoot them to death as well.
And even more magic.
I had a good phase, so I can't really moan about Fate's Judgment too much, because I got Perception of Strength up on the Selexians as well, and Guiding Light as the attribute for Fate's Judgment. Even got Raven's Wing on the Dreadknights as well. And I actually kind of wasted the Raven's Wing part of it, because I didn't really move a lot. I got the objective by going into the deployment zone, and I just moved onto the giant and then moved off the giant. And I didn't really maximise how I could have then placed the Dreadknights. And that will come back later, so we'll mention that a bit later on. But essentially, I did 0 wounds with the D6 Strength 4 hits on the giant, which was again disappointing. And that giant is still on 2 wounds, which, yeah, not ideal. Over here, my shooting, I do enough to kill 1 Sandstalker, which is all right. It's not too bad. I'm still wondering whether or not Tony will take that charge or not.
They're not good in combat.
They're not good in combat. They have 2 attacks each and not a very great armor save. I think they're 5-up armor.
Might have a stomp, but...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So over here, I go through the first giant, which is part 1 is successful, and I have a big decision to make about whether or not I want to charge into the giant. I know that if I do get the overrun, that combat is going to be in Tony's turn, and that's a big factor because all sorts of magic could come into play, including healing the 2 wounds that I've done on the giant. But with Perception of Strength off, I like my chances. I'm wounding on 4s, and I like that idea, hitting on 2s, wounding on 4s with like 13 spear attacks, 3 Selection officer attacks, 2 outcast.
Because of course
attacks.
your 4s because of Dread Elves getting
because
+1 to wound.
Exactly, ruthless efficiency. Yeah. So I like that, and I decided to do it. It's quite ballsy because that giant has got 6 HP left at this stage.
At the minute, yeah, as well.
At the minute, but Tony can magic up, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. It does also mean that my militant's moving over there, the big unit, the Cauldron unit, Crucible unit rather. It kind of wasted its move because I didn't need to face that way because it's going to be a whole turn before they actually do anything useful. Over here, Tony surprises me and takes on this charge. I really thought he'd protect the chariot and not do it. So calling my bluff there, and I really hope the Harpies can
just swing it, innit? If he kills, if he kill them all in impact hits.
That's it. If he does well on the impact hits, then my Harpies are toast. If not, then my Harpies can probably do a number on it. He also charges in the chariot on Kulos, which is fine. We expect that. He's only got 1 wound left, so he's done well to survive that long. Yep. And he takes this charge as well, and I'm happier about this one. I kind of like this. I'm interested to see how that goes, because I will be attacking first, so I'm actually hoping to kill a Sunstalker before it attacks. So I've got paired weapons on the Black Books, so and poison is actually combat as well, so all good. Over here, this is how that ends up, and the Colossus is just wandering around really, and his Archmages and Skeleton Cav very much just being bunker and caster. Over the Sunstalkers just moving about in the backfield as well. They've got nothing left for them to shoot really. They just want to keep their points.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, over here, magic. Oh man, I'll tell you what. Regrowing wounds on its own would not have been a problem. But the thing is, he casts an augment spell whilst doing it, so he gets a wound back and casts scrying, and that means I'm now hitting on distracting obviously. So it means instead of hitting on 2s, I'm hitting on 3s. And that's quite a big difference, really, when you're hitting on 4s. So, yeah, that was a shame. But I guess I had to see that come in some ways. And I'm really lamenting the fact that I've only done 1 wound to this giant. Because doing 7 wounds, even with spears, it's going to be ropey. It's a real close one on the Math Hammer. I think because of the break in the battle, I had actually worked out what my spears are likely to do.
What they needed.
And they without scrying, they actually do this on average. But with scrying, average says they don't do it. I worked it out in the break, so because I hadn't factored in scrying. So. And the combat comes round.
Oh,
I do
brutal!
1 wound.
Brutal. That healed 1.
That one that he healed with the scrying, or the lack of Raven's Wing wound, or 1 more Fate's
That's everyone's worst nightmare to do 7 wounds or
to a 6 raging giant.
To a giant.
It's horrible. It's horrible.
And on the flip side, it's everyone's dream if you use a giant.
Yeah, if you're the giant and that happens, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And this is the result, the carnage of it. He does a lot of attacks. He does all the giant attacks pretty much on... no, not all the giant. It can't have been all of them. He did split his attacks quite a lot. But he kills my BSB, my selecting officer. So that's points for him. And he stomps maximised to like loads of stomps and kills a whole lot of Sexians. But because I did so many wounds to him, I do actually kill the giant.
Charge, flank, big flank.
You're going to work it out for me.
Banner?
Well, no, I don't have a banner.
So you're 10. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Win by a few, and he crumbles.
Exactly. Yeah. He only needed to. I only needed to win by 1.
Yeah.
So yeah, he crumbles, which is great, but I did lose my BSB to it. So yeah, if I'd have done 1 more wound, I'd have had a BSB and a whole unit of selections. But yeah. Over here, this was a waste of time, honestly. My Black Cloak whiffed. His Sandstalkers didn't do much.
No,
and we just sit there.
Well, that's what you get when you're charging shooting units into shooting units.
Exactly. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's just unspectacular.
Yeah.
And the Harpies, oh man. Tony rolls maximum on his impact hits, and it's game over for them. You expect it. Once the impact hit roll was made, it was over for them.
Yeah, they just got made them all.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Just needed a minimal impact hit there. Tony reforms. Actually, it looks like a harpy has survived to run away, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But it won't be useful for long.
Yeah.
And of course, because I did move the temple militants to face the other way, there's no harm in Tony reforming like that with his chariot. So, hindsight, my militants messed that up in the middle, because it would have been a really nice opportunity to countercharge after Kuloth chaffed the chariots, but never mind. This is how it looks, and I think basically what I do is I back away with the militants in the middle. My harpy continues fleeing. And actually, right, let me go back a couple of pictures, because I made a huge mistake. This, right, you're thinking like that combat continues. My Black Cloaks charge the rear of the Sandstalkers. How awesome would that be? Because you get, not only do I go through the Sandstalkers, now I've got Black Cloaks in the rear as well, but I also get the objective bonus for charging a rear charge. But the Black Cloaks were caught by the impassable terrain by 0.1 inches. Literally, the line on Warhall proved it. I had messed up my placement on my Black Cloaks. I couldn't declare the charge. I mean, how gutted was I? Yeah. Also, another mistake I made, which is crucial, especially in terms of objective and killing Sandstalkers, my Dreadknights could have easily turned around and been facing that way, and charged into the flank of the Sandstalkers. Yeah. So, really messed up that flank. And as a result, that is my movement, so I can do it next turn if my Black Cloaks survive.
Brutal.
Yeah, horrible. I managed to get Raven's Wing off and get my militants out of there, because I'm the distance it was previously, the chariots could have easily charged that, and I'd have lost my whole unit of militants. Yeah. So I really forced through this Raven's Wing. I'm not sure what it was that Tony was dispelling, but I'm basically just packing up and going home now, hoping to try and win the objective if I can flank and rear charge his Sandstalkers in my next turn. Yeah. So I think this is my turn 5. So there is that. And combat-wise, it continues for another turn.
You might kill him before you.
Yeah, that's the problem. I've got to keep the Sandstalker alive for one more turn, so that I can actually do those charges. So that is pretty much the main event that's going on now. Tony moves as so, because he can't really get to me very easily. His chariot is now very much making its way. The single chariot is making its way into my deployment zone. To get the objective point as well, so that's that. And there's a bit of a to and froing between my selections and the Kraken up there at Krasnar. We're trying to get position on each other to try and actually get each other's points.
So is he out of your line of sight there with this Colossus?
He's out of my line of sight there, so he doesn't need to worry about the counter charge. I did think about charging the chariot, the Kraken into the chariots, but it doesn't end well for me with his Godslayer Pharaoh. So. That was never really an option.
Yeah, agreed.
Over here, the worst happens, and my Black Cloaks freaking kill the Sandstalker a turn before it matters. So I can't get any more objective points.
Brutal.
What a terrible... I mean, it really compounded my mistake with the Dreadknights and the Black Cloaks being unable to charge. It was a real lazy mistake.
Because that's like 3...
It's 3 objective points and killing the Sandstalkers 2 turns earlier. I mean, my 3 units wouldn't have done anything else apart from that, unless they could have maybe gone and shot the other Sandstalkers.
Sure.
But yeah, it was horrible. Tony's magic is, by the way, killing Selexian spears here and there as well.
Yes, another scoring unit.
And his shooting. So I turn my Selexian spears far away as possible. It's not out of range of the chariot. This is my turn 6. Krasnar is moving out of the line of sight of the Colossus, which is cool. So there's fun and games there.
That's funny.
He is in line of sight of the Arco Ages, though. So if he wants to clear that charge, he's more than welcome.
He doesn't want to do that.
It would be silly. And I'm just moving away as fast as I can. The Harpy is still on the board, but if he doesn't rally, and he doesn't rally, he gets 4 points for that because it's decimated. Over here, I've got a Raven's Wing off to get my Selexians out.
Cool.
It looks like I might be I've still got my 2 outcasts in there. But one of them takes a wound.
Yeah.
So I'm allocating now. I think I've got so few spears. And I get Raven's Wing out, and now my Selexians are safe. So that's good. You can see the objective total on the side is 7-7. So, yeah, ways that happened. In Tony's last turn, he moves up to get a few shots and things like that. And he actually, let's see, the chariot, I think, is in the process of growing back wounds. to ensure that I didn't get half points on it. I think in my magic phase, I might have done a divination spell or something to try and get half points on the chariot. And now Tony is using his magic to get it back, basically. This might be the last picture. I didn't put an end picture one on. Oh, maybe there'll be like 9 more. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I didn't put the logo on that I usually do, so we're guessing again. Back to the old days. Yeah, this is basically just the situation. I think this might be as it ends. And near enough. Yeah, just going through the motions. But there is no activity now. It's very much just avoiding each other as it goes on with a drawn objective. And the drawn objective means that it goes down to points, and Tony has killed more points than I have. And so Tony gets the 8-12 victory, 12-8 victory, all the way around. Yeah, so I am actually really happy with an 8 against an impact hit list.
Sure, yeah.
Because I don't think my list is built for impact hits at all. It struggles, you know. And I really just had to keep away from 4 of Tony's units, really, because 4 of them had impact hits, and that kills me, especially combined impact hit charges. Although I didn't do a great job.
Yeah, and like you say, you can't even risk the because even if you come down to 1 or 2, they can still raise up again. Because
that's it.
You can apply the attribute onto every spell, can't you?
It's every augment spell.
So you're going to get
Tony
one
had plenty of them. Yeah, exactly. So,
do you get 2 wounds back, or do they all have different values?
No, they all have different values, but I think the giants were only getting 1. But the chariots were getting like D3 plus 1. So that was whatever it majorly came into play.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But yeah, no, I was pleased with an 8 in the end. And, there are a few times where I thought I could have made different decisions, and definitely the mistake when it came to the scissors at the end really cost me. So I definitely win the objective if I played Sandstalkers on the left flank there. Especially as I had a Raven's Wing at my disposal and just my bad placement on the Black Cloaks. Could have easily got 3 objective points for a rear and a flank.
Say that last bit again in a sec. Thingy's entered the waiting room. Yeah.
So yeah, I think I could have really played the Sandstalkers better with a rear and flank charge. That would have been 3 more objective points if I'd have played that better. But and then it would have been 11-9 for me.
You get only one objective. Yeah, it's mad, isn't it? A few little mistakes, but it is a hard one to track and to take care of. So
but 8 points from your first round isn't terrible. You know, a small loss. So we go into round 2 of Massacre against my own group players. Tony wasn't even in my group.
Got rid of spare player. Let's not play him.
There you go. So no, good start for the Dread Elves and really enjoyable playing them. So looking forward to the rest of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we move on to still on group round 1, and I play against Proxy. And yes, I'm taking Warriors, and a very interesting list for me. And Saurian Ancients double alpha. So do get involved.
There will be blood.
Yeah, they're absolutely yeah. Tune in.
Say no more.
Tune in. But yeah, we will see you next time, and for more Massacre goodness.
Yeah, see you soon, folks.
See you later.